The thing is, I don't like actual bananas, like I don't wanna eat actual banana, but I like artificial banana flavoring.
I'm the
It's something
opposite. I
completely
love
different, but I like
bananas,
it.
but there's never been anything banana I've eaten that I truly like. Well, like I do a banana cream pie, that's good, but it's real bananas. But I'm like, if, yeah, I'm a little picky about that. I'm not here yet.
Chris said us now.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I'm gonna end up starting at 9:45. Is there something right after this in here? Let's see, is that, I got the calendar somewhere. Where did I just see it?
Where do you wanna start? This has been charging.
So wait a minute, that's not it. Maggie's gonna do a pilot list of contracts, but she starts a few minutes late. She's if anybody's here for it, then she can always, she says you can always do start some contracts.
Yeah, I think typically it's the smaller ones.
Yeah. I just with the, there's a couple of nasty traffic areas this morning, so I just be trying to give people a little extra time to get here. And they're already running late every day anyway. All right, thank you. Did not do this side. All right, now I lost my book. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, so if you guys were here last week, they talked about lead follow-up, that type of thing. But now we're gonna talk about, once you get a response from a lead, what do you do next? How do you convert that lead? Once you get them on the phone, once you get them talking to you, how do you convert them over to an appointment? After lead generation, lead conversion is gonna be your number one tool to getting business. And it's your most critical activity outside of lead generation. You have to have the leads to call, but once you have them on the phone, how do you get to the next step? So if you don't have appointments, you don't have any seller agreements or buyer agreements. Without agreements, you can't have any sales contracts. So it's all a step-by-step process, which I'm sure you guys are very aware. And I know this is your first class, but they always want us to ask, like, what have you enjoyed about Ignite so far, Chris?
Oh.
And I hate to put you on the spot,
Wow.
but yeah, there's two of you,
Okay,
so. It doesn't have to be anything in depth, just it like gives us an idea of what we're hitting on that you guys enjoy doing.
Well. I think the structure and systems for being more consistent are really helpful, and then I also think it's really good. Especially in like having some smaller classes where we can hear what some of the challenges are for people and what the mental barriers are to doing things like calling leads or calling your SOI or whatever it is,
Yeah,
that you're not the only one who really feels those challenges.
makes sense, yeah. And that is what I like to, having the interaction, let you know that, not that everybody's having their issues, so.
Right.
You're not alone. And we're gonna give you some systems to get through that though. By the end of the day today, you should be able to, or you'll be equipped to, apply the lead conversion model. Develop your system for capturing, cultivating, converting, and closing leads, try saying that quick. And apply proven methods to increase your conversion rate over time. It says if it's plugged in, why is this not working? I'm assuming the batteries are dead, so no lights are coming on. It's usually good, it's been used a lot, the last couple. All right, so is there anything today that you guys in particular want to focus on? Is there something, a lead conversion question or concern you may have? And I'm gonna have you two talk about it and then get back to me, so you've got some time to
Oh.
kind of go over it.
We
Okay.
talk aloud.
Oh, of course, yeah,
Agree.
that's fine, yeah, we can do it, I can do it with you guys, but I want you two to kind of talk about it and then I can step in if you have questions.
Okay, so the question is challenges. that-
Yeah, what challenges on lead conversion do you currently have that you would like to see addressed today? Just much easier than going back all the time,
yeah.
especially when I only got two of them, so I'm like kind of hanging out over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we can speak up to here, it's on that.
Once you get done, you can, 'cause it's supposed to be like this is supposed to be like break into partners and talk about it.
Will you be my partner? Oh.
Like, I would partner with someone else. Don't be shy, Tom.
For me. I think. Like meeting and talking to people for the first time. Is sometimes challenging, but I think it's harder to kind of. Like, I don't always know what the next step is to like. Deepen those connections, and I guess if we're talking about leads. I don't know. I guess. Knowing when somebody. I don't know, are we talking about like people who are. Thinking about
You've already
buying?
made contact with them, so what do you do next?
Is this somebody who's like interested though, if they're a lead? Is that,
Could be,
okay,
may not be though, because you haven't asked them yet for the appointment, so you're not 100% sure.
but it's not just like a contact,
Correct.
okay,
Every contact could be a lead, so.
okay. I'm trying to just imagine that.
My biggest challenge is connecting with my SOI. And it's because I get a little bit shy about what to say. It's not about what to say, I already probably called them and went over what, before. But, get weird after that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think what I'm hearing is your problem is more closing the lead. Getting them to, closing means getting the appointment, not actually getting to closing. Or
Okay, so.
converting might be what it more of it is, going from a contact to a probable business.
Yes, but with SOI.
Well, that's why it can be the hardest. They know too much about us, so it's harder for them to take us serious when we're talking to them. And I think your focus or your question is more around cultivating that lead, getting to know them, like how do we get it from being just a person to a connection? That
Right.
makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the interpersonal connection is fine for me, like. Kind of like Luis was saying, I mean, I'm working on SOI calls, so that's like top of mind for me,
Yeah.
but. I guess I feel like combining the call. Like doing the forward and then doing the ask.
So you both are stuck in that ask part.
Yeah, I think because it
How to
feels.
keep it from getting weird.
Exactly, yeah, like how do you say it? And I think this is kind of maybe what you're saying is like, how do we address that topic without making it seem like that was the whole point of like, without cheapening the actual human connection of it?
Yeah.
That's the thing I struggle with.
All right, a good thing. We are gonna cover that. So we
Great.
will go through it. We're gonna start, they had these 4 Cs. We are gonna go through capturing, cultivating, converting, and closing. Keep in mind, when we say closing, I know that gets confusing. That is getting the appointment, not getting the contract closed. That's a whole nother class that you do later. All right. So lead conversion is, I love how they do 2 of the same slides in a row. It confuses the heck out of me when I'm like clicking and it doesn't change.
Right.
So first we're gonna talk about lead conversion, converting to an appointment, improving conversion rate, and then we're gonna recap. Daily success is lead generation. So I'm actually gonna go back to the office. If you guys are both kind of struggling with Sphere, I'll do my Sphere calls today. I don't normally do them today, but I will, and you guys can listen to me if you'd like and kind of get an idea if you've got time to be back at the office this afternoon.
I'll be there.
I know you normally are, and you've been there quite a bit too. I was on vacation, so it's throwing off like exactly who has always been there. So at its core, lead generation is all of your activity, and this is just another step of your lead generation. We're gonna teach you how to turn your leads into appointments with the end goal of having a transaction. So that's kind of what we're gonna work on today. One of these things you'll see as we go through this, one of the, almost every one of these quotes is from the book, Shift, which, was our book club book last time. If you have not read it yet, Chris, I do recommend that being one of your early reads. Millionaire Real Estate Agent, classic, it's important to read it. Shift kind of is more detailed towards actually working, whereas Millionaire Real Estate Agent is more like business development.
Okay.
So that's my, take. Shift I think is a great one. MREA, I've read it 3 or 4 times, not thoroughly, I keep going back to it for different sections. But the effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating them. So it's basically saying, yes, generating 100%, that is our number one, should be like the one thing for 90% of agents. It's some type of lead generation. And if you're not doing that, you can't convert, so it goes hand in hand. All right. So this is kind of the method that they want you to look at is we start with capturing a lead, then we connect. And we hope to close them, but if we can't close them on that first call or one of the first couple of calls, we have to cultivate that lead. So then you cultivate and hopefully end up in an appointment eventually too. And don't think this like lessons like relationships, it's saying like you want to be that person that when they're going to make an appointment with a real estate agent, that you're the one that does it. Not that you're only calling them to get the appointment. I know that I get messed up in my head sometimes too. So I definitely want to look at it. So converting a lead to an appointment is a process that can happen quickly, although in some cases it is very slow. So when they talk about consistently getting every appointment, this is on the here, every possible appointment from the leads you generate isn't complicated, but it does require preparation, practice, and purposeful action. So another quote from Shift. This starts at the top with capture. The more important thing about capture is they get correct information and enough information to be able to contact the person. Sounds very basic, But it's great if you go out and talk to someone at a grocery store about real estate for 30 minutes when you're supposed to be shopping for groceries. If you don't get that person's contact information at the end, have you really accomplished anything? Even giving them your card is not collecting their information. Two-way streets. One of the great things about using like electronic business cards is they have to at least give you their phone number for you to send it to them. So if you don't have one already, you should. Then you move on to connecting. Once you have met somebody, you got their information, you want to build a connection, gain information, and build trust. That can take some time. We're going to go through some methods for that. And finally, it ends in closing for an appointment. Without the appointment, you have not technically converted that lead. So it's still just a lead. And if you look in our system, it's great, you guys are both Hub users. When you can't take that lead into warm, cold, hot, or active would be great. Then they end up being what we call a stale lead. Because you have not converted them out of the initial lead status. So sometimes, I mean, with having online leads, people that you don't know, yes, there are some that are not gonna convert. But if you get them on the phone, there should be hopefully getting them into one of those categories by making a connection of some kind. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Finally, if it does not result in an appointment, what do you suppose happens next?
Cultivate.
Cultivate, thank you. You continue to cultivate it as part of your regular lead follow-up. So we've got great tools to teach you follow-up and how you have to do it, and
That's before that, I have, everything is happening automatically there, but
yeah, the touch campaigns are one part, but another big part of the follow-up is making sure they're on a regular call schedule as well.
so. I know there is a, there is a flow or plan. Or follow-up was.
Mhm.
I haven't touched any, it's whatever. It's set up automatically, that's what it goes.
Maybe some of your homework is looking into what are the campaigns we have and which would
Yes.
apply to your different people that you have in your database.
That would be
If
great,
you go through Bold, you've been through Bold.
yeah.
One of the big things they talk about is every person in your database should be on some type of touch campaign.
So do
So
you do a different one than the ones that it's automatic?
typically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the automatic ones are great and I'll leave them in that until I actually get them on the phone and talk to them. And then once I talk to them, my goal by the end of that first call is to know if there is one that applies to them or if they're just a dead lead. So that's what I need to do. I say dead lead. I do not put people in dead lead, they just go in cold. Because I will continue to follow up with them until they tell me not to call again. I'm pretty persistent. Cause I've had some great conversations with people that tell me they're never gonna buy. So. All right. So, this is kind of the chain of what we wanna see happen. We take possible business to probable business to profitable business. We all wanna make money, that's why we're here, right? We wanna help people, but in the end, will we do it for free? Probably not. There's better ways to help people that are not our business. When you we'll get into setting the appointment when we go from appointment to actual business, like to actual closing. Is actually going to be day 14. So this is day 11, day 14 will cover that. And let me see who is covering that one. 14 is 12, 13, 14. That's gonna be Mark Ragland is gonna do that, but Doug is doing Wednesday, working with buyers and sellers. Until that class, we're gonna focus on the how, because we've already focused on the why we need to do it. It asks for ahas at this point, and I'm really not gonna bug you for that yet, because we haven't really gotten into the details of everything yet, so. I'm gonna skip back to past that this time. You guys should be, we're getting ready to get on to 11.4, so that'll be the next page you're kind of looking at. I saw you guys kind of flipping back and forth, okay. We're gonna talk about the specific steps of lead conversion model and converting leads to appointments. This model will help you provide structure for your success and lay the groundwork for future accomplishment. So, how to convert a lead to appointment? We're gonna start with capturing. Capturing is defined as collecting the minimum amount of valid contact information of a potential buyer or seller. valid is an important part of that, especially if you guys are in the pond looking for stuff. If without a good phone number, really hard to convert a lead. You can't actually talk to them. As simple as capturing the minimum amount of valid information, it should include their names, a way to get a hold of them, such as an email and a phone number. What are some of the methods that you guys can think of capturing? How do we get people's contact information?
Well, some of them, if they go to the website, it's already there in our case. But if you meet in person, it's asking for email,
How do you-
phone number.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you actually ask for it 100%. What are some of the things you could do to get people to give you their information? I guess is how they're wording it.
Good question.
Open house, sign-in sheets.
Yeah.
That's the number one. You can't require, I mean, you can, like, I've had an agent actually require someone to fill it out fully before they'll let them in the house. Don't be that agent. What do you think is another way you could do it? I like the last one on here, listings, having for sale signs out, because when they call you, you get their phone number. Yeah, that's a great, listings will always bring you more leads. Mailers or flyers that actually require some type of response.
What would that be like? Don't you?
A QR code. A call to action.
Okay.
They get into that more in the marketing part of it,
Okay,
look up, have you heard of the golden letter?
no,
Look that up, it's a MREA episode, but just Google it too, there's a lot of information on it.
Okay.
But very basic letter, it says, hey, I've got a buyer, do you want to sell, call me. No, that's not the exact wording,
Right.
I can never memorize it, but it is actually that simple though, like it is not much more words than that.
okay.
Or it's not, there are not many more words than that, me and my bad English.
It's very efficient.
And I'm gonna give you another good one. I'm doing it this Thursday night. I'm doing a community event and I'm going to. You have a poster, it's gonna be a house in Marymount and a house in Coleraine. They look very similar and basically they're gonna have to guess what each price is. In order to enter the contest, which I'm gonna give away a gift card, they have to fill out an entry form. And every time they fill out an entry form, they get a birdhouse with my card on it. It's a little build your own birdhouse kit I found on Amazon for like less than $1 a piece. So that's gonna be what I'm gonna do this Thursday night. I was invited to Coleraine High School to do their community event. So that's what I'm gonna be doing, like giving away something fun for them. It'll be bright or colorful. Doug has an awesome banner you can borrow if you want to use it. It looks great. So I enjoy something more like that because it cost me a total of about $100 for the birdhouses. If I get one lead, I'm good.
Yeah.
I always do the TCG postcards. I do not do any other mailings right now because when I do it, I'm gonna hit it hard and heavy. So I've got to wait for a couple of good sales before I get it ready. I've got my postcards ready to go, but I'm talking about over 700 for the initial mailing and doubling it every 6 months. So when I start into that, I need to have at least 3 months worth of money saved up to do the mailing. It's about $800 give or take for printing and mailing. So I'm too much of a cheap person to risk not having the money prepared. So those are some ways of capturing leads. But in the end, I've got to make sure they're actually captured. So I've got to make sure I've got all of that information and that it's valid. So after an open house, calling those people, emailing them, always important. Looking at the sign-in sheet to make sure you can read it. That's always a good thing to do because I've had a couple sign-ins and I'm like, I have no idea if I'm calling the right person or not, or I'm emailing the right person because I can't read it. So it doesn't hurt to just double check it and it gives you a little bit more interaction. Especially if they have a really funky email address, you can kind of ask them like, where did that come from? One thing I do at open houses all the time is when someone signs in, I hold on to their sign-in sheet and walk around with it. So when they ask questions or they say something that I want to remember, I write it on the back of the sign-in sheet. So that I can put those two people together. Or I may just write husband, wife, and 3 kids. So that way I kind of try to remember who came through. All right, so conversation framework. This is a couple ways to ask for information if you're face to face. 11.4 is where this is at. Sorry, I was like, why did I have that underlined? If I ever need to contact you, what would that number be? I've used, what's the best number to reach you at if I need to get in touch with you? That type of thing. If I found out exactly what you're looking for, how would I contact you? So that's a good one. Someone says, I've got this, because I'm sure you guys have had this conversation. I would only move if I found this house that has these features and it's in this area. Well, if I find that house, how do I get in touch with you? Always have a notebook with you, have someone for them to just jot it down if you're not comfortable with handing over your phone and having them type it in. And always make sure you've got a place to write it down. I mean, I carry a purse that makes it easier, but a small notebook in your pocket, somewhere you can write something down. Because you don't want to not have it and be really embarrassed. If I found out that information you're wanting, how would I get it to you? So just ways of asking for it without saying, what's your phone number and email address? Oh, by the way, what's your home address as well? Sounds weird.
What if they don't want? What if they're not looking or don't want? Or like don't express an interest in getting information?
If you ask and they say no, it always is a little hard. Maybe if that conversation continues, ask again in a different way. And if they really don't, give them your business card and just hope they reach out. But honestly, at that point, it's like one of those, that's a passive thing. I'm like, if they don't call me, they don't call me. It was still a fun conversation.
Well, at that point, are they even a lead, right?
They're really not.
Yeah.
They're just someone you had a random conversation with and good times, but I wouldn't focus on those. That's why I try to tell a lot of newer agents, don't over focus on the ones that aren't true leads.
I have a couple of leads that I got from, one of them from, the sign. From the listing sign, and she gave me the phone number. And didn't wanna give me anything else. It said, well, just call me if you find what I look for, and I've been calling since time, so.
I would, something like that, I would say, I think I've got something that's interesting to you, I could just give you the address, but I'd prefer to provide you with some more detailed information. Can you give me your email address so that I can send this over to you? Make sure you have something to send them. Don't lie. That's always important. Do not lie and say you have it when you really don't. But, and if she refuses, it may just be one of those that, yeah, call her on occasion. Hey, I'm just checking in. Give me a call when you got a minute. I'd like to, talk to you about what's going on in the real estate market, right? But I wouldn't make it a huge priority because you don't have another way to get in touch with her, and our touch campaigns don't work without the additional information. You can't trying to find her home address, that type of thing, by looking like the auditor site, that type of thing. Chances are most people look for houses similar at areas that they live in, so if the house was in Hamilton County, she's probably in Hamilton County. When I look, I'll usually check Hamilton, Butler, and Warren County and just see if I can happen to find it. I don't obsess about it, but sometimes it's nice. Or you could do what I did with my last client. I was supposed to have a listing in Indiana. He ended up going with an agent out there, which is fine. Like it happens. Like it's no big deal. I don't know him personally. He was a referral actually from an agent here. Well, I realized I didn't have his mailing address. So I sent him a text and asked him, I said, do you mind sharing your a good mailing address? Because he's out in California, so I'm not even gonna attempt to look that one up. And he's like, and he calls me and I'm like, he's like, why do you need my mailing address? I'm like, well, I just want to keep in touch, we hit it off. I know you didn't pick me for this one, but I'm hoping to get future business from you. Because he's got family in this area. He lives in California, but he's from here. And I said, well, actually, I gotta be honest with you. This is I'm only asking because you told me that at least two of the members of Def Leppard live in your neighborhood, so I want to be able to stalk them next time I'm in California. And he just thought that was the funniest thing ever. I did get his mailing address too, so like it worked out great. But it was funny because I threw him off a little bit with that. Like because we had a long conversation, so I know a lot about this guy. And yes, he does live in the same neighborhood with some of the wives of Orange County, housewives of Orange County, and Def Leppard people. So I'm like, the wet housewives, I could care less about Def Leppard. I will we'll fly to California to stalk them. Oh, sorry. Jumped a little too fast. So we're talking about capture. There is a couple of things that we're going to go through. In your book on 11.4, there should be a question thing for you to ask you, like, how do you currently do leads? And I think you guys got a couple things in there. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to kind of go through there and see if you guys can come up with some things for us to talk about. All right. You can help each other, but you can do it yourselves to do whichever works better for you. You're working on the last one, maybe if we go through it, it'll help you get you some ideas on how to improve.
I don't really have a system, like, what system?
Yeah, and that's a good question early on, so it's not an unusual one. So how are you guys currently capturing leads? I know you've been talking about taking the in-house leads that we get, that's always a great way, but what else besides that?
Well, the open house, the events that I go to events.
So networking,
Yeah, networking, okay, that's networking.
yeah,
And I'm not putting here social media because I'm not there, I need to, it's something.
I know you've been working on it, it's a process.
I haven't done much.
Yeah. I started a new series, I actually got to update it today, but I gotta get back in my truck to take a picture of the gas light that came on this morning, and I had to debate whether or not I could make it to the office because I didn't leave enough time to stop for gas. So
Oh,
I'm doing a day in the life of a realtor and just
Okay.
sharing different things that happen during a normal work day. So, or abnormal work day, so it's gonna be my new little fun thing, I kind of do it anyway, I'm just giving it a name. So. But what about you, Chris? Any particular ways right now you were using to capture or thinking about using?
Yeah. Lots of ways I'm thinking about it. I guess I mean, I'm using. I started out with my phone, right, and like whatever. Extended sphere that is, and then trying to. Look at like. Social media connections like Facebook and seeing. What, if there are people who I could reach out to. So I guess this is more like a plan than actually currently doing it, but.
Yeah, you're newer into it, so it takes a little bit of time to. How long have you been licensed?
2 years.
2 years. It's still new in my book, it is,
That's good.
especially if you haven't been with us to have like real systems in place yet.
Right,
So,
yeah, so I mean, there's some other methods that I mean, I've like done door knocking, but I didn't. Do much besides like capture people's names and addresses and a lot of details about who they are. I didn't do like. Their email or phone numbers, which were
Yeah,
helpful.
so that's probably like, if you do it again, you need to, and I think Tyson's a great one to talk to, he's a good door knocker. Asking like, what do you say to capture that additional information?
Yeah.
Yeah, cause unfortunately, getting addresses and names is the easy part. And then so it's like, and now you got personal information, but you're like, hey, if I come across something of interest for the neighborhood, something like that, how can I get that to you?
Right.
Because mailing, we know, takes forever and is unpredictable.
Yeah.
That would be one way, like, do you prefer a phone call, a text, or an email, or can I have both, so if it's really pressing, I can call you, or I can email it to you if you've got some time to look at it. That type of thing, it's hard to be direct, I know, it's hard to ask for that.
It is, yeah, I mean, I think part of it feels like you need to know exactly the right thing to say, but. I guess I just feel like if I know enough of those things, I can be more confident about it. I think it's when I
That's that
don't
role play
know.
practice,
Yeah,
yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
And if there's something you wanna focus on, let them know, because they are happy to put it into what someone is currently working on.
Okay.
So. I know I don't intend them, but it's just,
I've really loved it.
yeah, I don't mind doing them at all, like, I actually will lead role play all day long, but it's just something I just don't, it's not in my schedule right now, so.
Right,
So, kind of skip there, you guys know what information you are collecting and not collecting and what you should be collecting, so we're gonna skip that question. But what I wanna hear, what are your current lead categories? Like, where are you guys getting leads from? We talked about open houses. We talked about Sphere. Is there any other source that you guys have for leads that you are using right now?
It says tags, category or tags.
Or tags, yeah, tags are fine too, but it's, I mean, who are these people? Where are they coming from?
Oh, in my case, majority are investors and contractors. So that's the thing, I need to move a little bit more to the Hispanic.
100%. You've got a unique thing that a lot of us don't, and that's a second language. I don't know if is English your second or is Spanish your second? Which would you consider? Or
No,
equal?
English is my second.
Is it? Okay, I didn't know, like, I didn't know which one you spoke first, or if you were raised in a household that spoke both, because I don't like to make assumptions. But, yeah, I would 100%, because I can't speak another language.
Yeah.
If I could, you can be sure I would be tapped into that, like, is there like community centers that you can go to, is there place? Cause those people are gonna appreciate, people that don't have English as a primary language, the second language, are gonna appreciate someone that can understand them in their native language. That's very important, 'cause I know there's always something lost in translation.
Isn't one of the 52T tags in Spanish, like
Oh.
it's like Spanish?
There's a 52T Spanish one, did you know that, or was that created for you?
It's not going. That's, I put it there, but it's not, there is.
Oh, there's.
So you're trying to get it to go, but it's,
Yeah.
it should be though, that should be something, maybe that's something you can work on. And sending out those videos, but having that whole email translated to Spanish. Even if it is just a Google translator that does it, so it's not perfect, it should still be legible enough for people to read it. The things I wanna suggest to you guys is what group, who do you go and hang out with? Do you belong to like a community center, any type of cultural groups? That sounds all like highfalutin. I belong to 3 different German clubs. So you guarantee when I'm there, I talk about that type of thing. I love it, that's what I do. So one of my current listings right now is from that German club. One of my other listings that just closed came from, I belong to the Corning Chamber of Business. So as an individual, not our office didn't join, I joined. And that lead came from a lady that's, it's the sister-in-law of the lady in that group that, listed with me. So, networking I love. That is one of my top things. I try to do at least 3 networking events every month. And the cultural clubs is a big thing for me too. People know me there and they tend to call me when they have questions or needs. So that's my goal to have. So now in the one group that gave me the current listing, I'm the only real estate agent in that group. So they call it the Bubenverein. We kind of are like a subgroup of some of the German clubs. Our whole goal is no politics and stupidity within our group. So the other agent retired, so she is no longer part of it. So, and what can we do to improve? That's always a big one. Any ideas?
I feel like for me, like focusing and having a clear system that I follow is, I mean, that's in general, but also for this would be really helpful because for any one of these, I don't necessarily have like a process that feels ironed out. And I think it could be better to try to like focus on one at a time instead of trying to like have all these different ideas of where to capture and kind of not getting the kind of follow through that I really want on it.
Yeah, most agents have 2 to 3 solid lead sources that are a majority of their business. Because you go through more than that, you're gonna end up with not a lot of focus.
Yeah.
So I would say my sphere is my number 1, and then my number 2s would be either the networking groups or the German clubs. Somewhere in there. I'd have to look and see how many came from each to know for sure which order they came from. Big thing I would say, like for you, when you're talking about the processes aren't ironed out, when I'm making calls, like even when it's just sphere calls, I typically would have my notebook in front of me with like 3 questions that I can ask these people. Like, is it what do you think about the Reds game over the weekend? What about the weather? The weather's always fun, like, especially when we have stupid weather things. I know we just talked about the weather, but weather here sucked, but I was just in Utah and weather out there, I mean, it was still chilly out there. Of course, it was 80 today, we decided to go hiking and I didn't bring shorts, but that's okay. It's something like losing your breath and being overheated at the same time. But it's, things like that. I want to always have something that I want to talk about these people with, just so I can make sure that I've got some conversation, especially when it comes to why am I asking if I'm missing one of my sphere, the number 1 thing I focused on the first few calls was getting all of the information. Like if I didn't have an email for them or if I didn't have a home address, I wanted to capture that information.
How did you do that?
Asked for it. Said, hey, I'm in real estate, I'm trying to update my database. I'm not gonna bug you with a bunch of stuff, but I realized I don't have an email or a mailing address for you. Can you guys share that so I can update my database and keep it current? And who knows, I may send you some fun surprises in the mail at some point. I've got an AM cards account, so I'll randomly send people stuff.
Oh, nice.
One of my issues is reaching. You know, I have a lot of contacts that I do through networking, talking with people. I put on my phone, you know, back and forth, at least the phone,
Mhm.
and then. Okay, but it stays here and I hesitate to put it in. But because it still is, you know, someone that I just talked to, exchange phone number. And then that initial, because we talk about different things, you know, yeah, they know that I'm a realtor, but jumping to that point, I say, hey, you know, and I hesitate to put it on file because then it would trigger the whole thing.
You do not have to have them in the touch campaign and
Yeah.
FUP, just to make that clear. The advantage of having them in your phone is not gonna remind you to follow up. What if you got 3 listings this week? How long is it gonna be before you remember to call that person back again?
Well, it's happening that I have a lot of contacts here. That I haven't even go back to them, you know,
Exactly,
especially in
and
text.
FUB will remind you of it.
Okay.
That's the thing, like you can put it in there and it'll be, if it's warm leads, cold leads, hot leads, wherever you categorize them, all you gotta do is go into that list and you've got a list to call that day.
Well, those are people that. You know, you meet in person. They give me the information.
Then
And-
they fall under just being a lead then until you figure out if there's a category you need to throw them.
And if it's a phone number, so that initial conversation, then ask, you know, use the SOI.
Mhm.
First, okay.
Yeah, use that, and just ask them for the additional information, say, hey, you know, I'm in real estate, you know that you're gonna have information to share with you. Do you have an email address so I can share some additional information? And you just gotta ask, they may say no, they may give you a hard time, but ask them again next time you talk to them. So basically what it's, we're gonna go into connect next, so we kind of talked about capture, now we're gonna go into connect. Which is actually, we started kind of talking about that already. So connection back best practices, this is gonna be on 11-5 for you guys. When you're connect, you wanna lay the foundation for a good relationship, so you wanna find out some information about them. The first step is to listen. I've corrected so many agents on this, just sitting there like, there's a, what do you, one agent came up to me recently and said, I just need to ask you, you sit next to me most days, what am I doing wrong? I said, you're not shutting up. I listen to your calls, you're talking the entire time. I shouldn't even know you're on the phone about half the time. Because you're letting the other person talk. I said, oh, I'm blunt though, you know, if you guys know me, you'll realize that about me. And when you do talk, ask good questions. You said you're not sure what they ask, have a list there in front of you of what you could ask. There is a book that's exactly what to say, something like that, it's a little black book.
Yeah.
It's great, yeah, that'll give you some, not really, I don't really quote anything from that book, but it gives you the mindset of
Okay.
being prepared no matter what they say.
So to jump back a little bit, and I don't wanna get us too off track on this, but. Like when would you mentioned that you would say something like, you know, I'm updating my database, et cetera, so. When would you say that in a call generally?
It depends on the person, but a lot of times, I wanna get it out of the way first, so it doesn't come across as being like the only reason I'm calling, like,
Right,
hey, wanna talk about, you know, I know your daughter's getting ready to graduate and. Cause in your notes, you're gonna have this information, so I know your daughter's getting ready to graduate, that type of thing, but before we get to that, when I was getting ready to call you, I realized I don't have your email address, do you mind sharing? And then you get into the personal connection. You can do it in kind of a reverse order rather than waiting till the end of the
Yeah,
call,
that
and
feels
they
a lot
come
better.
across, yeah. Or do the, I mean, I always call it the Peter thing, cause they'll say, do you care if I'm real direct right now? If there's something like you need to ask them or you need to say, like, say they told me they're gonna buy a house and they haven't bought a house yet. I've got one client, I'm actually on my list this week to have a strong conversation with her. Like, you know, just basically ask for that permission to say, can I talk to you about business for a minute before we get to something else? Just ask them. That makes sense? That sounds more realistic, like more genuine to me than waiting till the end. Oh, by the way,
Right, right, and I mean, I think the thing that I find is that like when I try to avoid or like overthink. That question because I'm worried about how it'll come off, it's been way better just. Calling it out and saying,
do you feel the whole time you're thinking about asking that question, so you're not really listening to what they're saying?
yeah, and I'm
So you're
thinking
missing
about,
out on both things. You're freaking out about
Right.
asking the question, so you're probably not going to do it.
right,
And then you miss out on the personal conversation because you're distracted that you're gonna ask the question.
right, and I mean, I think.
So I
too,
might be
it's,
reading too much, but that's what
No,
I'm
no, you're
picturing in my head,
totally
like,
right, I
yeah,
mean, that's,
I've
that's
done that.
correct, but I think that the other part of it too is. That in trying to avoid how awkward it is by. Giving it some other. Like pretext, that just makes it worse.
Yeah.
Generally, it's like people.
You feel like it's a
feel
pretext
deceived.
versus a genuine conversation.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
So they say, write your own script. How are you gonna do your sphere calls? I'm taking advice that we gave you because most of it's very good.
Yeah.
But how are you gonna do your sphere call that feels more natural to you? And the idea of having that script is not to say it back to them word for word, it's to give you an idea of what you're gonna say next. How are you gonna handle the objections? How are you gonna handle well, how are you gonna cut them off if they're your friend that you know you gotta call when you're in the car because it's 30 minutes every time? You know, like, how do you handle those situations? That's what the role play and having a script in front of you will help with. Help to direct you back to what you're trying to do. And it's funny, we just talked about that, the next point they give you is use your backward design when thinking about a communication. Think about the intended outcome before you start the communication and use questions to help lead them towards the appointment. So you start off with asking them about the email address, that type of thing, and because of that, now they're like, oh, wait a minute, he's in real estate. So your conversation may naturally go more towards that thing. At the end, like,
Right.
you know, we're talking about, you know, your friend that was looking at buying a house. Could you share their information with me so that I can get in touch with them and see if I can offer my assistance? You may get a lead better that way than going the opposite way.
Right.
So, yeah, what do you want the outcome to be? Always think about that before you, and maybe you just want to have a conversation with them. Like, I realize it's been 6 years since we talked, so I'm gonna call you out of the blue and just have a conversation. So, and you lead into one way I like to do that, is like, what are you doing now? They tell me like, oh, I'm in insurance. Oh, you know what? I'm in real estate. We should get together and talk about how we can help each other. That's still an appointment.
Yeah.
Even if it's a business to business connection. May not be leading to a sale, but it might be. They may have a referral for you.
I'm receiving some of those that I connect with people that have insurance or things, or even mortgage. And I'm not following up with them.
You need to get them in your CRM.
No, in a way that I didn't know if that was a waste of time or
Yeah, it's never a waste.
they are
of time.
vendors. So,
Yeah. If somebody, a mortgage person calls me, I ask them, what can you do that's different than what I currently have? Sell me on your product. And depending on how they answer that, I may or may not decide to meet them for a drink or coffee later. If they're offended by it, then I'm not gonna work with them. To guarantee you do that to Bradley Ross, he's got an answer for you. That's his job. You know, he knows what his job is. So, yeah, I do my best. I won't say always. I'm not perfect. But connecting, like basically they talk about this is 11.6 connection questions. Who are they? So you talk about like what is their family like? What do they do for a living? What are their, and then what is this called for? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Or frog, family, recreation, occupation, and goals. Depending on if you're business to business, goals is usually a good one rather than dreams. Make sense? So find who are they? What do they want or need to do? So they just, maybe they aren't looking to move. What if they just want a vendor instead? They need help with an issue at their house. So it's still a reason to connect, it's still a reason to get an email address. Where do they want or need to do it? So if they are thinking about moving, or if they're where you can get their home address, hey, I need your home address so that I can make sure I find a vendor in your area. They're always asking me for phone numbers and emails when I send them over somebody. Can you give me both of those? So when I reach out, I can provide that information to them. So there's always things you can do. Why do they want to or need to do it? Chances are if they're doing home improvements, we all know it. I lived in a house for 14 years. I did most of the home improvements the last 2 years I lived there. Cause I had a reason to do it now. I work really good on deadlines. If I don't have a deadline, I'm like, I'll do it whenever. So. Ask me how I did 75 hours of education in about a week. While still working and preparing for Thanksgiving dinner, but I did end up with strep throat and missed Thanksgiving, so don't recommend it. When do they need to do it? Is it pressing or is it something they're gonna do sometime in the future? We all wanna jump on every single person that says they're gonna sell their house. The biggest thing is not pressuring that person and but still being that person they call when they're ready. So it can be a fine line that you walk on. But I always say when I try to call someone, I wanna offer them something. When I'm calling an active buyer I've got signed, I'm gonna be throwing a property out, even if it doesn't quite meet the criteria. Hey, I just saw this really cool house this week and I thought you'd like to see it. Cause sometimes their criteria is just ridiculous and it's not gonna happen. But, just sharing something with them that's real estate related. And how do they plan to do it? So it's like, we've all heard these types of questions before, but I guarantee you, if you kind of had that in front of you when you were talking. Like, ooh, I can focus on who are they today. Then I can, my next time I call them, I'm gonna see if they have a further need. But once you know who they are, when you call them back, you've got something to talk about already. I just found out I'm pregnant with triplets. Guarantee you they're thinking about a new housing situation. I'm getting divorced. That's a touchy one, but be careful how you approach it, but they probably are gonna need to adjust their housing situation. Right?
So is this assuming that they have a housing need?
Kind of, but there's so many other things it could be.
Discovery?
And that's what you just kind of gotta, once you have that genuine conversation, you'll see it'll flow naturally into that. Like there's so many people I talk to on a daily basis, and because they know, I've been doing this 18 years now, because they know that, usually it goes around in real estate eventually.
Yeah.
So once you know who they are, it's gonna give you an idea of what you need to go to next. If they're, I'm not, gotta be careful how I say that. If they're still living in mom's basement, there's a good chance that they're not very motivated, but there may be something you can get to. I'm living in mom's basement, but I work at P&G. Like, how would you feel about having your own place and you look at a condo, so you don't have to do any outside work, and I know a great housekeeper that'll come in and clean the house for you. Like.
Yeah.
Creative. I know that sounds kind of insulting, but I can picture people in this situation. Got a decent job, but they're still living at mom's house because it's just convenient. Mom does their laundry and makes their bed for them.
Yeah, maybe they're saving up for a house.
They could be. They just need an agent to push them. I interviewed someone the other day. She worked at Jeff Ruby's. She now just left, which actually she hooked me up at Jeff Ruby's because last minute because we forgot to make a reservation for our anniversary. She got us in on a Friday night of all nights. But she I come for talk to her and her boyfriend. Don't know a lot about him. He's a weightlifter, so we connected on that. We connected with her on the Jeff Ruby stuff. That had some great experiences there recently, and we're talking, turns out that she has a huge inheritance and she probably is paying cash for the house, but they both decided they're not quite ready yet. But they said, when we're ready, we're using you. So I'm gonna find a reason to keep it, but it's not gonna ask for a reservation every time. Gotta tell myself that. Oh yeah, Carlo and Johnny's is like my favorite, like I love that place. We got to eat in the secret room for my daughter's 21st birthday. Literally the wall slides and there's a table behind the wall. We were in that room. That's where the Bengals and the Reds players eat so that people can't see they're there. I got that room. Don't ask me how much that dinner was though. Alright, so we're all kind of familiar with, oops, I forgot to go to this, I'm sorry. So, kind of familiar with this, but one again that says things, kind of keep it in front of you, it helps you to remember it. Alright. So now we're gonna talk about cultivating. So you connected with somebody, but they're not ready to meet with you. They're not gonna be an appointment right now. So how do we cultivate that lead? One of the things that I always kind of think about with cultivating is even if I'm not going to cultivate them into a listing or buyer consultation, what if I just meet them for coffee? I love going to coffee with people and having a conversation. It's a great experience. That's how Annie and I kind of connected. I met her down at a family reunion and then I took her out for coffee because she was like, how does an experienced agent transition into a new brokerage? And I had done it pretty recently, so
Yeah,
we went through a lot of that. But when you're talking about making, cultivating, you've got to find a way. I love to say, there's a small percentage that won't convert to an appointment. We all know that it's usually a big one, but what are you gonna do in the meantime to keep that relationship going? Um. So there's touch campaigns, they talk about, and I don't have to go into any of this stuff for command because I don't understand it, but I made a note on here on what this all meant, so you guys don't need to worry about it. We have touch campaigns and FUB. The people online for command, there's one called 19 to connect, 1 to cement, and 36 to convert. So those are some of the touch campaigns that command uses, but within FUB, we have touch campaigns too, so one of my advice would be is outside your lead gen time, go in there and look at all the touch campaigns, see what they are, they will show you each one, what the list is. If you don't know how to get to it, somebody at the office can show you. Look at what the touch campaigns are, see what works well for you. At the beginning, use what we have. As you get along, you may want to make your own touch campaign, and you can do that, but I would say don't try to do that early on because you'll go down a wormhole with it. As you start to implement the touch campaign, start with 3 that you understand. Because it should apply to pretty much anybody. A buyer that's very far out, a listing agent or listing that may come in a year or 2, like if they're looking for like a graduation or a wedding. That's usually ones that they're not just not ready, they've got another life event that's gonna prevent them from being ready in the near future. This is 11.8, sorry.
so you've mentioned some of those life events a few times, and I guess. I guess my question is. This is kind of a question about like, how do you qualify leads and nurture cultivation people? So like, some of the indicators would be,
They call them the 5 Ds. Death, divorce, diamonds, diapers, and dollars, meaning promotion. So, it took me a long time to remember all 5 of those, always one I forgot to do. But it's diamonds meaning engagement, dollars meaning promotion, diapers meaning babies, divorce, and death. Somebody in the family died that they could have a house to sell, or and maybe their spouse or something like that. So once that happens, when someone indicates one of those things, then it kind of opens you up to say, oh, okay, you guys are getting married. Are you guys gonna live together? What does that mean as far as housing for you guys? Oh, I'm gonna move into his house. Okay, number one, I'd make sure, keep in touch, because chances are that's not gonna work out real well. People moving into someone else's house, I always find it doesn't usually last long term. You gotta be a very laid back person to live in someone else's house and feel like it's your own, in my opinion. But do they have a house of their own to sell? Are they gonna need a title person to put them both on title so that they're both legally on title? You can offer services around any of those types of things. Death in the family, is there anything I can do to help? And I genuinely mean that, like I've got connections with attorneys, I've got connections with people that can help you out with the estate or clean the house or help you go through the stuff. Let me know if there's anything I can do on those grounds to help you. I guarantee you, if you help them with finding someone to help clean them out grandma's house, if they go to sell grandma's house, they're gonna still think of you. Sound good? Okay, that's something that's like, there's always a way to connect, and to cultivate it, you just gotta keep working towards it. And the big thing is to actually do it. If you're not calling people, if you're not talking to them, they may not think of you when it's time to sell real estate. So this is a discuss in a small group. I think we can just discuss it amongst the 3 of us. Why do you think most agents struggle cultivating their leads?
consistency and intention, maybe. I mean, I think people probably intend to cultivate, but I think not having a system or not doing it with intentionality. Makes it real difficult and I think it's pretty easy to like fall. Into like a haphazard kind of thing where you like forget to reach out to people.
Get so overwhelmed, you just won't do it.
Yeah, yeah, or put it off and then.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
one of the 6 personal perspectives that if you ever get a chance to take that class, I do recommend it. It's they call it going from E to P, going from being an entrepreneur to being purposeful. And that mind shift, it goes from being a person that just works to a person that's developing a business. And it takes a while to get there. It took me about 17 years to get there. I worked my butt off for the first 17 years of being a real estate agent. I now have most of my weekends free because I have a showing partner. So I don't have to run and show houses every weekend. I did show some this week and I had an investor come down from Columbus that hasn't met Ryan yet, haven't seen him in 6 months. I decided to do those showings myself. I could not resist the urge to walk through a completely burned out house. It's been a long time since I got to do that. So it's fascinating. Fire is fascinating. I'm not a firebug. Don't read into that. I had a fire in my house when I was in high school. I find it fascinating knowing that no one got hurt in that fire. I find it fascinating. So I will do it on occasion, but that's opened me up to really be able to do a lot of other things because I'm not on that. I'm not having to do showings all the time. So it does really free up my weekend. So, and being purposeful, and I haven't even done it yet this week, so should not do that. I should be telling you this because I'm not doing it currently. There's something I was in the habit of doing and I'm getting it back in my calendar starting this week. Every week I had 2 appointments that I had to set in my calendar. One was either on Friday or Saturday, which was my tying up loose ends. So I would review my week and see anything that I forgot to do, either scheduling it to be done the next week or getting it done. So, and this is an hour of time. I'm not talking about spending 3 or 4 hours doing this. So an hour on a Friday afternoon to just kind of tie up my loose ends for the week. And then every Sunday, I would spend about an hour to 2 hours planning out first my personal, then my business appointments. To make sure I had everything on my calendar that I needed to do and do all of my time blocking. And I say an hour or 2 because I have a method at home that I do too. I've got a whiteboard that I write down everything that the family needs to do or anything I'm doing after hours. So the family knows I won't be around. And that also includes planning out meals and stuff like that. So that takes a little bit of extra time. But about 1 to 2 hours I would spend on a Sunday getting that done. So by doing that, it puts me in a great mindset. Like I know I finished out my week before and now I can plan my next week. And typically I did that on Sunday mornings. I don't attend a church regularly right now. So my husband plays at a church. So I usually do it when he's gone. Or I'll do it Sunday evening before I go to bed. And that includes planning my yoga, planning my my time to go to the barn, planning what nights we're gonna make dinner, because we try to make dinner that'll last 2 or 3 nights, so we don't have to cook every night. Or just planning the night where we're gonna go out to eat, because you know what, I want to. You know, stuff like that, like really getting it scheduled is really nice.
How do you determine, so to go back a little bit, you said going from entrepreneur to purposeful. How do you determine what the most impactful efficient activities are? What are some of them?
I'm gonna see if I can print it out for you. There's actually a thing you go through. It's taking your list from being a to-do list to a success list and looking at everything you need to do and really narrowing it down to that, what they call another great book, The One Thing. That one thing that will make everything else easier or unnecessary. So it takes thought, and I think that's the thing is that you have to, it's not like I just do this like on a whim. I have to sit down, I've got to walk through, because I teach this week, I've got, I don't even know if I haven't sat down and done it yet, like I normally do on Sundays. This was a week, I did taxes all day yesterday, so. Why do I do this to myself? And going, I had to file an extension, now I've got to do my taxes, my kids' taxes, and yeah. So I'm working through that, but if I go through and I look at everything I need to do, if I like, okay, give me an example, next week I teach here twice, and I've got 2 committee meetings. So I've got to get those in the calendar and still fit in my lead generation and everything else that I need to do. So what is the most important thing for me to do is my lead generation.
Right.
That for business. My important personal thing to do is the horses and my exercise. So those things, my personal stuff goes on the calendar first. That's why I did do that last night. I scheduled my yoga for the week. So got that on the schedule. Now what else do I need to do? I have an appointment on tomorrow night with a dance mom who's gonna be helping me take care of the group. I run a dance group. I don't dance. I run a dance group. And then we've got a party for that same group Friday night. So those two things had to go on my calendar already. Wednesday, we're doing a dial night at TCG. Make sure it's in your calendar, 4 to 6 p.m. It went through Slack. Doug sent it out. So Doug and I decided to do it, invite the rest of the group. We're gonna be there. Y'all show up if you want to. I might even have some refreshments for us. Think about bringing the margarita machine. But you guys, those things have to be on your calendar, and then I gotta figure out, I need to do 2 hours of Legion at least 4 days a week, so 8 hours of Legion every week. Where am I gonna fit it in? Not if, it's where. And I'm behind right now, so it's about 4 hours a day of Legion I need to do right now. So how am I gonna fit that in?
Is that just calling?
It's mainly calling, that's the time I'm gonna spend on the phone communicating with people. But it can also be setting up touch campaigns for people, following back up on things, but I have active client follow-up every Monday. That's when I follow with all my active clients, so I make sure that we're all on the same page. I have contract follow-up at least 2 other times throughout the week for things that come up on active contract. So, or I do about a half an hour a day of that, give or take, so it just. I gotta know what I've got going on so that I can put it into my calendar, but the Legion is the one thing I have to have scheduled.
Right.
And I don't just say I'm gonna do Legion, I put in, this is my day for a sphere. This is the day for my hot and warm leads. This is the day for my cold leads, this is my day for everything else. The stale leads or whatever else I haven't followed up on lately. So you've gotta kind of lay it out on who you're gonna talk to. That makes sense too? Because if you don't, you're gonna sit down,
Right, that's why I was asking. because,
who do I call?
When it just said, I mean, there's plenty of times where my calendar is just said, lead gen, 2 hours.
Well, maybe when you get in, the first 15 minutes you spend figuring out who you're gonna call that day. Who are you in the mood to call that day?
That's not a good question.
Well, I mean, you're not saying, I'm not saying if you're gonna call people.
Right.
But you're gonna be forced to call people today. Who do you wanna talk to? Are you in the mood to be sociable and talk to your sphere? Or are you in the mood to talk to people you don't know that you can test out all of your scripting on and see if it works?
Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, so I'm not saying, I didn't say if you're calling, I said, who are you calling? Any other questions on that? So I do like, again, shifts, I should have required people to bring this to the, because then you can actually pull up these pages. You can't know or predict when they will come to a decision, but if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. That's when you'll be able to close for an appointment. All right, so now we're gonna get to one of the, I consider the more fun parts of doing it is closing. So how am I gonna get that appointment? I tend to be like, I'm a very direct person, but I can tend to make it funny, and that's like, yeah, asking if I can stalk people in his neighborhood, makes it a little bit more interesting. See, this is just my reminder, just typed up, active client follow-up 11 to 12 p.m. I have to move it today since I'm teaching, but I will happen today. I typically do that, I give myself Monday morning, Mondays are my day to catch up on all my crap. So I typically do catch up on everything I need to on Monday morning, do my active client follow-up. And then I kind of make sure I've got everything in place for the week, whether it's, have I scheduled all my time for appointments that I've set that I need to do. Big thing on setting appointments is have the appointment, have travel time for the appointment, and also schedule time to prep for that appointment. If you have to do a CMA, if you have to pull schedule showings, you gotta make sure you're prepping for your appointments. Nothing's worse than going to an appointment unprepared. You wanna talk about a sense of dread in your stomach when you're driving and you realize that you're going to a listing appointment and you don't have all your crap together yet. How unprofessional is that? So, but when we get to, how do we close? How do we get people to actually have an appointment with us? So it asks on here, and I want your guys' your opinion on this. What is the most effective format for asking for an appointment?
Probably in person.
What do you think, Luis?
The really,
Over the phone or in person, yeah.
yeah, typically is over the phone, it's most common.
Yeah, and I would say either text message and email. Okay, I do always joke, I did have one cousin that would, like, I sold him a house, we never talked on the phone. He would not answer the phone, I would intentionally call him, he'd respond in the text. So, some people text is all you can do, they won't answer the phone, or maybe they have a job where they can't, I mean, my oldest daughter's gonna be a police officer. If I need to get a hold of her during the day, unless it's an emergency, I'm probably gonna send her a text and say, hey, if you have a minute, give me a call, it's regarding this. Because I know she can't be on the phone. Right now, she's at the police academy, she really can't be on the phone. My youngest daughter's getting ready to go into the Navy for 9 weeks, I can't call her. That's gonna, whew, then she's going into nuclear engineering, so. She's gonna be extremely busy, they say it's an MIT level class that she's gonna be taking, so. For 2 years, she'll be doing that. So, you know, sometimes that works, but when you're asking for appointment, I say in person definitely is the best. How uncomfortable is that though? Most people have a really hard time asking someone face to face for an appointment. Over the phone gives you a little bit of a barrier. But if you're in person, you've got to be prepared to do it. But yes, you're technically meeting that person, but it's not a set meeting. You're in the middle of a grocery store, you're standing in line at Chipotle, whatever it may be. It's really not a good meeting place. You need to set a time like, hey, I'd love to talk to you more about this. Can we meet for coffee later this week? I know I'm open usually on, and I know this for a fact, Monday and Friday afternoons, I'm typically don't have anything scheduled. If either of those work for you this week or next. I know, 'cause I try to kind of leave those times open.
Yeah, I feel like there you definitely have some advantages though too, because standing in front of them. And
Yeah.
most people.
I have a hard time saying no.
Exactly, over the phone, it's a lot easier, and the others, super easy.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about, when you're trying to close them on over the phone, sometimes you gotta ask more than once too, so that does make a difference too. So what are the appointment, and when you're scheduling an appointment, nothing worse than saying, let's meet Friday at 4. Okay, that sounds great. But what else should you be putting in there?
An alternative.
Yeah.
And filter, yeah, like one or the other, so they have to pick between two instead of.
Yeah,
Yes,
giving
yes, and
them,
no.
yeah, and try not to give like, I always try to give like a daytime and an evening or late afternoon, like I try to not do after 4 o'clock if I don't have to. And if I say, oh, how about Monday at 11 or Friday at 4? And they're like, oh, I gotta definitely do later in the evening, can you do 5 instead? Okay, I think I can make that work, let me check, and even if I'm not really checking, okay, yeah, that works. Cause in my head, I already know what my openings are before I'm calling people and asking for appointments, I have an idea of when I can schedule those. So you should have that in mind too, like what do you already have going on, like you guys should not schedule during your lead gen time and your training times. So I have standing appointments most mornings, could I meet you at 12:30 or after, or would be 1 o'clock or after, when you're done till 12:30 most days. So. And you can get out of that time if you need to, I don't recommend making a habit of it, cause it doesn't look good. So you also need to make sure if, when you're scheduling, that you also, I have the wrong slide. Probably. There we go, when you're going to schedule something, make sure you know who's attending, is it just them, or can their spouse make it, if you know they're married, I would ask if the spouse can attend as well. One of the things with objections you get a lot of times, I gotta ask my husband, why don't we get something on the schedule, because you probably know typically when he's available. And then if we have to reschedule, just reach out to me and we can find a time that works better for both of you. So at least get them on the schedule for something, does that make sense? So you get them to commit to something, even if they still have to ask the spouse to be sure they can be there as well.
Yes, makes sense, sorry.
And yeah, no, it's fine, I saw you were writing, so I was 15 minutes, right? And remember, you're not just looking for the yes, you're looking for all of the information, so the date, the time, and the location. And also kind of give them an idea of how long to expect. If it's a listing appointment, I can't get them done in under 2 hours. I can, but I would tell them 2 hours. A buyer consultation about an hour, that's mine. If you know you're a talker and it's gonna take longer, make sure they understand that. Or ask them how much time they have available so you can mentally prepare yourself for that. Probably one of the scariest things I had to do recently is I teach personal perspectives, I love that class. It's a 6-hour class. So I taught it here in 6 hours. Got done a little bit early, but made good time on it. Tara Smith calls me and says, can you come teach that in Kentucky? I'm like, I'd love to. What day should I do it? She's like, gonna do it after our meeting and do it in 3 hours. Peter and I have both done it in 3 hours. We think you can do it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing it in 3 hours. So it's knowing that I had that limited time, I had to prepare differently than if I was just doing the same class again. So just make sure you understand what their schedules are. If they've got a kid to go pick up or something like that, you cannot make them late for that. So, or if you're meeting them in the morning before they go to work, something like that, you gotta make sure you're at work on time too. But one of the most important things to keep in mind, you guys, and I know you're big, strong men, but safety.
Correct.
If you do not know that person, it is much better a coffee house, a restaurant, the office, somewhere where there is some level of protection for you. There are some crazy people out there. I've met about half of them now. So just be careful.
So meeting them like for a listing appointment. If you've never met them before, would you still do a? Like meet at a coffee shop first and then set up a listing appointment?
It depends on go with your instinct.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know them? Are they a referral from a friend? Is it completely random?
Right,
And if you're really concerned, get another agent to come with you. Even if that agent makes an excuse and leaves, once you let them know you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Then still take someone with you. I've done it.
Okay.
Or I'll tell them outright, for my safety, I'm bringing my husband with me. He won't be involved in the conversation at all. He'll just be there just for my safety.
Okay.
And just kind of, they cancel that appointment, it'll make me wonder why.
okay, so we
Yeah.
can bring your husband with us?
Yeah.
Your husband?
Yeah, go ahead, call it and ask him.
Okay.
He's a nice guy, he'll probably say
I'm
yes.
updating my database.
Same number as mine, but ends in a 5 instead of a 6. I just want to see how many phone calls he gets.
Great, it's recorded.
He's not a big guy though, he's like my height, but he is a weightlifter, so he's stocky. All right, so we've kind of talked about closing, we haven't gotten into it a whole lot. But hold on, let me double check, I'm sorry, first time I taught this class, so I wanna make sure I'm not skipping anything. All right, so basically for closing, what we've discussed is kind of like just, you have to ask them for the appointment, and when you do, you've gotta make sure you set the parameters of the appointment. There is some, if you go to the back of your book, when I made a note further on. If you've got, you're not in your book, Louise, but in the big one. In the very back, there's a section, it's like the C section. And I wrote it down, which page it is, give me just a second. It's gotta flip forward a little bit. I know I wrote it down in here.
C21,
Yeah, I know I wrote it down, I can't find, I'll run across it as we're going through this, I'm just not seeing it right
is
now.
it the closing of the deal or?
Yeah, there is a whole section that has information for you on different conversations to have. So that's transactions, so we're gonna go back right before transaction. That's lead follow up. It's the guide. That's transaction. So lead generation. And lead follow up, so it gives you some outlines for conversations. You can download it online, I'll show you where, yeah. It's completely, go on KW Command if you know how to get on there and just search for Ignite, and you can download the entire student manual. That's where I printed those up for you, and the teaching manuals are on there too. So if you want to see what I'm seeing, you can do that. So that's what we're talking about with closing, so when you're doing the follow-up, that does kind of show you, those are some frameworks for conversations, it's a great resource in the back of that book, I didn't realize it was there until it referred to it.
Yeah, I didn't know that was there. Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's awesome that they've got all that in there for you, because it's a lot of good information, a lot of good stuff for you. All right, so I talked about, so it says in the end, if they can meet and have a good enough reason to meet, they will meet, sorry. And if they don't, they won't. And that is okay. That's the thing we have to remember. Some people are not gonna meet with us, and it's okay. You really don't care what their answer ultimately is, because you're not gonna need people to do anything they don't want to do. You're just going to ask and respond until they agree that meeting with you makes sense or it doesn't. Either way, you both win. I like that statement. So in your participant guide, there should be a KW belief system. Do you have that in there somewhere? Do you remember
Yeah.
seeing that at the very beginning? One of the most famous ones that we talk about all the time is the WI4C2 TES.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to memorize it. The W is win-win or no deal. The I is integrity, to do the right thing. The 4 C's are customers, always come first, commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. And creativity, ideas before results. Those are your 4 C's. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all, and then success is results for people. So that's kind of like a big philosophy for Keller Williams, not kind of, it is. And a lot of these apply to what we're talking about here for lead conversion. Communication, where you're seeking first to understand. The customer always comes first. Trust starts with honesty. A lot of those really apply to what we're talking about here, don't they?
Yeah.
Is there any other part of that statement that sticks out to you guys as applying to what we've talked about today?
Be persistent.
That definitely, and it's. Yeah, and when we talk about win-win or no deal, and that's all that has to do with negotiations, but it also talks about like if it's not the right time for them to sell, don't pressure them into it. Understand first what their needs are and then seek to meet those needs.
Well, but also. Do it until they tell you stop.
Yeah,
Oh, this
if
is
they're like,
not
look, I'm never gonna sell, okay, but who do you know that is? Don't give up completely. So I am gonna ask you, because we're gonna get into kind of the end part of this, I know we still have plenty of time. But we're gonna kind of move away from. As much detail and get into more of a conversation part of it, so. Tell me what you guys have picked up today that you think is gonna help your business, what are your ahas? And if you take a lot of Keller Williams classes, just be prepared, they will ask you for ahas at every class. Anything you guys would like to share that really stuck out to you today, like always talk about that one thing that you think you can actually use to improve your business type thing. Take some time to think, it's fine, flip back through your papers, take your time, I just want to see if we can get a couple ideas here.
I think for me. I mean, I know I already, kind of already talked about this, I guess, but. Just learning some of the. Phrases and tools, to be able to. Confidently. And directly ask, like you were saying, for in people's information, because. I mean, I don't know, I guess I just think it's like, that's one of the barriers that I think of when I think about like reaching out. To people, it's just imagining the conversation and feeling like I don't have a reason to call them. So being able to like have a bit more of a playbook that like reiterates to me, like what are the values that I can, or what value can I bring to that conversation, like you said, as far as like resources, and not just being like solution minded too, but trying to approach that conversation with, hey, I'm gonna, I'm looking to update my database to make sure I have contact information so I can help people. And then shifting over to like actually connecting with them and listening, and not being sort of trying to just like say, I don't know, I don't think that the value, it's like that the value doesn't have to be having a solution necessarily. but also being able to articulate confidently why you're calling, right, to yourself either.
Yeah. Knowing that you do have value to offer, even if it's not obvious what it is, but you've got to be confident that you are, that they're okay talking to you.
Yeah.
Number one, I tell you the answer to that.
That's a pretty good, I guess that's a pretty good indicator.
So, I mean, that's. They didn't immediately hang up. I mean, you got some of the
I
basics
gotta
here.
remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, the answer,
Yeah, because if you answer if you don't want to talk to someone.
yeah. But that's
Yeah.
doesn't mean people.
Exactly, okay, but most people do not.
You know, usually.
Yeah. Louise.
So that's great, and I second that on the outreach. And then on the internal side is, improving the way you capture those leads and have those systems in place to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's might be the kind of a little bit of the breakdown for you is making sure all those people from your phone end up in Bub and you know how to follow up with them. I've done something kind of silly in mine that I just think is hilarious because it makes me smile now every time I pull it up. A lot of the people I know are from horse farms, because I've worked in several different places. So under their relationships, I now have a new category. I have their horses in there. Their horse names.
Nice, yeah,
So because that is, I mean, I want to ask how.
right,
I was talking to someone the other day and I'm like, I talk about, I petted her horse every day. I always said hi to him, like. For life, I couldn't remember. It's Hero, is his name. He was born on 4th of July. So they
Nice.
called him Hero. But it sucked not knowing that. So it's almost as important as knowing a kid's name if you know horse people.
right,
And if you call me up and ask me how Bahara and Cheddar are doing, I'm gonna know you actually paid attention to what I told you.
right, yeah, I mean, when we were talking about those tags, I went in and put a bunch of other. Tags into FUB and, I mean. Some of them like could be like pet names and like where they went to school. Their kids' birthdays, like stuff like that, I think can be pretty.
Pretty significant, like,
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you in a while, but so and so's had a birthday since then. What did you guys do for it? Or it was a big birthday, the big 10 or the
Right.
16th or the 18th or the 20th, like things that you know are a big deal, like it's good to know that. And you'd be surprised, like I go through when I'm calling someone, I first scroll through file, like, what did we talk? This is what we talked about, okay. They told me they're not moving, but they told me they would let me know if they thought of anybody, so that's gonna be my question. I'm not gonna ask them if for an appointment, I'm gonna ask them who they know that I can call. So it's good to know that stuff before you get on the phone. So I typically scroll through it and then I hit call, just so I've got a general idea.
Right, I feel like that's a really good way of keeping it organized too, I mean, maybe they're not tags, but. Ideally, if those could be like fillable spots too.
Yeah, there's a section in there called background, it'd be
Yeah.
great to have that, I mean, you could just have it typed out in Word, copy that and paste it in there and then fill it in as you're talking to them type thing.
Yeah,
Just have like, pet name
right,
or
that's what I.
whatever, and then you just go, it wouldn't be like a fillable form, but you could go in, like, I wanna make sure I gather this information for all my people.
Yeah,
And maybe absolutely hates dogs and cats,
yeah, I do have like a dog person and cat person.
Yeah, so, or like me, I've got dogs, a snake,
Snake
some
person.
other lizard down in the bottom, and my daughter has down in the basement. And I got 2 horses, so obviously I like animals. Oh, there's some fish in my other daughter's room too. So, yeah, we like animals, pretty much anything we like, but yeah, knowing that about somebody is gonna open up that conversation. If they love living downtown, you share that video, the YouTube video that Peter did. About whatever all's happening with the downtown corridor. I mean, it's pretty exciting. That's what they just tore down a bridge. That is the next step in that. Sarah's, I can't remember. Don't ask me, I'm bad with names. All right, so now we're gonna get into a little bit more of the technical stuff. We're gonna talk about conversion rates. Because when you're doing this, especially as you start off in this business, you want to know how well are you converting your lead. And the reason you want to know starting off is that how do you know if you need to improve or what I can tell you, everybody needs to improve. But how are you going to know where you're at and where you're falling apart at?
Data,
It's not supposed to be it's a recording, it's not supposed to be people coming on Zoom, so. They're probably trying to get into another meeting. So we're gonna talk about, first of all, how to determine what your conversion rate is, and then how to convert it. I guess they have, so on page 11.11 in your books, you guys have a kind of a worksheet for conversion rate. And what we do is a little bit more technical. Do you guys have this tracking sheet? Hold on, I pulled mine out just to see. I think your guys is a little bit more detailed now, but something similar to this. Where you have your days of the week, what your goals are, your days of the week, how many people you talk to, and how many appointments you set. Yours, I think, looks a little bit different than this now. This one's a little bit more basic, but that's the
No,
one.
it's the same.
Is it the same? Okay. Yeah, he showed me a more detailed one that I didn't like as much. Yeah, I love these sheets. But the last one I filled out was in March, so yeah, I'm behind right now. I've had to sit down today and figure out how I'm gonna make up and get my conversations for the month and. Because I am owed right now. I need to have a total of 250 conversations for the month. So we do a lot of talking. But when you're looking at conversion rate, you want to look at, and it kind of does do it on our tracking sheets here, where it asks you, actually, it doesn't. It used to, the old one, you know what, I had a different one before, that's what it was. It actually asked you, to look at what your conversion was. But if you take your, this one talks about going from. So if you ask for 10 leads for an appointment and you set 8 appointments, it's an 80% conversion. That's a horrible example. If you have 80% conversion, you're probably a rainmaker, not a member of a team. So your ultimate goal though is to increase it. So we want to look at, if we look at like one of our sheets here, how many conversations did we have versus how many appointments did we set? That would be the first conversion. But that is the conversion rate. If I look at the number of conversations I have, so like I had 31 conversations. And I set 3 appointments. So if it was 3 and 30, it would be a 10% conversion rate. That's not too shabby. Per week, 3 appointments in a week, I'm happy with that. And then like in other weeks, we'll get into appointments set to appointments met to people signed, but for this, we're just looking about converting to an appointment. So we want to look at the number of conversations versus the number of appointments set. You can also look at the number of phone calls you make to the number of conversations you have. That's also a good one to know too. Because the thing you can track on that is that the phone calls you're making are not leading to conversations. Why is that? Maybe you need to adjust time of day, or maybe it's just the group you're calling that day is less likely to respond. If I'm calling stale leads, I don't even leave phone number or leave messages. I just want them to pick up. So I'm just gonna keep calling through until someone picks up. My sphere, I'm gonna leave messages. Actually depends. Some people I don't because I know they'll call me back if I don't leave a message. So, but it depends on who you're looking at, but that's another thing you can track is that's not on my sheet. The number of calls I made, but you can look in FUB and see how many calls you make. If you make them through FUB, it will track it for
Can
you.
you give an example of it? Voicemail that you will leave for a sphere?
Hey, this is Jennifer, just calling to see what you've been up to, what you and the family have been up to lately. It's been a while since we've talked. If you got a few minutes to catch up, I'd love to hear from you. My daughter's getting ready to graduate, so we're gonna be sending out some graduation invitations here soon, so keep an eye in the mail for it. I hope to hear from you soon. I don't leave it real estate related, unless it is real estate related. If it's a warm lead I'm following up with, like I'm gonna be calling someone today, I gotta see where they're at with the renovation they're doing on a house to move into it. So my conversation or my message wanted to see how the renovation was coming along and how long do you think it's gonna be before you're ready to get your house on the market. I'd love to go ahead and get that listing contract signed, so we've got less paperwork to do. Let me know if you got a few minutes to talk this week. Yeah, just quick, easy message. I don't try to leave a whole big long thing, like I don't send paragraph text messages either. And email, I'll get into a little bit more detail if I need to, because they can refer back to it when they're trying to remember something. Make sense? So tracking is important. One of the bold laws, I want to say, don't quote me on that, is the path is in the math. So if you don't know what the math is, how can you know if you're getting better? There's something kind of satisfying when you actually reach your goal. There's something kind of humbling when you don't. When I'm looking at this, I'm like, let's hide this real quick.
Yeah.
All right. figure out how I'm gonna make that happen. It's a little scary sometimes. But then this talks about the next one, which I jumped to before, it talks about, once you realize, okay, this is where my conversion rate is, how do I improve my conversion rate? That's 11.12. It's on there. Once you understand what it is, you wanna look at, like this is where it talks about moving from E to P. So going from we're all entrepreneurial. That's, if you're an agent, you're entrepreneurial, you're running your own business in some level or another. To get purposeful, we need to know, okay, I know my conversion rate sucks right now. I'm converting 3%. I can't, it's not worth my time to make phone calls. This is not working. What do I need to do different? And a big part of that's gonna be use your systems and conversations. Systems being, how are you tracking it? So maybe your conversion rate's higher. You just forgot about the 3 appointments you made last month. You never put them into FUB. So you know they didn't track. We didn't know it was in there. Didn't go into CSU, so you didn't know you made them. Or you forgot you made them, and now you're thinking about who the hell did I not follow up with? I hope a couple of people are thinking about that. And you need to know what conversations you're gonna have. So if you're not converting to appointments, there's a good chance that that's just a part of your real estate training that needs to be amped up a little bit more. Make sense? I mean, it's something to be embarrassed about. And Ryan was showing the same thing with you, so I'm gonna embarrass him since he's not here and he should be. Ryan is my showing partner. And he said he sat next to me for a long time, so I listened to him for a long time before I hired him as a showing partner. But I asked him if he wanted some advice one day, and he's like, sure. As I sit here and I listen to you, and every conversation you have with somebody, and all I hear is, let me set up a search for you. Let me get an MLS search set up for you and start sending you some listings. What I don't hear is you asking to actually meet with them. He's like, oh. Crap, like. After that happened, he had 2 or 3 appointments scheduled that next week. Because he started asking them, look, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and go over what your needs are, get to know each other a little bit. And then I can make sure that I'm in line with what you want so we can get this all started. So he set a buyer's consultation with them rather than just setting up listings to go to them.
So those appointments are specifically for when you're tracking them, are specifically for leads, right? Not for. It's like coffee conversations with people who aren't leads.
If it's a potential, if I'm having coffee with someone, I am going to be networking with them, or I'm going to be. But the leads they're looking for are ones that are probable business,
Right.
if that makes sense. So
So
don't
you
lie to
wouldn't consider-
yourself, because just
Exactly, yeah, that's what I was-
padding your numbers is not gonna help you.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's tempting to say, I'm meeting my friend for coffee. Now, if that turns into a buyer's consultation because they start talking about things, then you can always update it later.
Right.
But no, I would not consider that, but it's still important. That networking part's still important, but if there's not probable business coming from it. When I meet with someone with that's a networking type person, we'll have a fun conversation. We say, okay, now let's talk business. What can we do for each other? Who can I refer to you? Who can you refer to me? That type of thing. So it will turn to a business appointment, but it's not that I even wouldn't count as an appointment because it's not a direct buyer consultation or listing consultation.
Right.
But it could be it's a networking appointment and I'm gonna hopefully lead to another appointment. Make sense? Not saying occasionally I misname something, we all do, but don't do it on purpose because padding your numbers doesn't help you.
Right.
So when you get more purposeful, do you know what you're doing? So you're gonna practice your conversations. If there's things that you're lacking in, like I said, talk to Tyson. He will direct the practice to be what you need it to be. So they said that conversations are a powerful tool because they allow you to say your what you intend to say in the most powerful way and impactful way you can say it. So it doesn't get lost in translation type thing. You want to make sure you're saying it in a way that makes sense. You've got to use the systems to make sure that you're tracking it and to make sure you follow up when you say you're going to. Setting tasks and FUB is a good way of following up with them. And don't neglect any part of your database. One of my things when I'm calling my sphere, there's some people in my sphere I just don't want to talk to sometimes. You know, I like them, I even love them, but they're not always someone I want to talk to. I'm not allowed to skip anybody. And that's my role when I'm going through and calling my sphere. I call them. Well, I'm not gonna go into real detail about the order. If I have an order, I call them in, and I'm not allowed to skip anybody. Even if sometimes it's like, okay, let me go use the bathroom and grab a cup of coffee real quick, and then I'll call it. Don't do that, it's easy to get sidetracked, but yeah, sometimes it is hard to do, but then I've got to think about like, how am I gonna connect with this person when I call them?
That's what
Because,
I wonder, cause I have some contacts who. Are pretty loose, you know, it's like, I don't know. Like they're there, but. I'm not sure how to connect to them,
family or friend or acquaintance.
more like a, yeah, acquaintance or like,
The acquaintance, I don't think is too hard, it's like, to me, it would be more like, remind me what you do for a living again,
Okay.
That type of thing, going into a less personal conversation first, and then leading it towards, like. If you find, like I said, if you find out they're in insurance or mortgage, maybe that's a connection you can make that way. It just see how it goes, sometimes it's a little difficult when you don't know them that well,
just,
or tell them upright, like. I know we've met, I don't remember a lot about you, remind me of how we know each other, and if you can't quite figure out, okay, what is it you do for a living?
would you? would
You know,
sort of,
just
like,
make it
start-
funny, like that, I'm calling you because I've told people that, I have your name and your phone number, I have no notes about you. Which is downfall on my part, but remind me of how we, and then you'd be like, oh, don't you remember we met at this event and we had a great conversation about real estate and we were gonna talk about me investing in some property. You know, I didn't realize that was you,
Right,
and yeah, it's just, you've gotta. Not to be afraid to admit that you don't know.
right, it's a good excuse to update your database.
Yeah. And I don't want this to keep happening, so now I'm trying to connect everything together, so let me make sure, while we're in this conversation, make sure I've got your email address and your good mailing address, I don't always say home address, I'll say mailing address. Because some people freak out when you ask for their home address, and I don't care where a postcard goes to, as long as it's going to somebody. So, yeah, it's. You gotta not set up those barriers, and I told Peyton this because it's something that happened to her, someone sent her a text message and said F off. It did actually just say F, it didn't have the whole word in it. And she's like, oh my god, like I can't believe they said that, I'm like, call them. She's like, what? Like, call them and ask them why they're having such a bad day. She's like, I can't do that, I'm like, either you're gonna do that, or you're gonna obsess about this, if she obsessed about it for 3 days and ended up transferring the lead to me. I've left him 3 messages now. Like.
Yeah.
Don't let that get under your skin. Someone hangs up on me, I immediately call them back and I apologize for getting disconnected. They don't usually answer, or if they do, they hang back up on me again, but I'm like, I'm not gonna let what they do interfere with what I'm doing.
Right.
Cause they don't know me. If they did, they probably wouldn't answer in the first place. Just kidding. But you can't let it get under your skin, because in the end,
Right.
it's not a personal insult, it's business.
Yeah.
No, it sounds really bad, doesn't it? Like. It says come from care, curiosity, and contribution, and that's really what you're doing, you're not letting the petty things get under your skin, because in the end. It's their loss, not yours.
Right,
And then the last part of this is what something I really want to make sure, and we kind of talked about connect with your whole database, there's always gonna be different approaches, but make sure you're talking to everybody. And prioritize your qualified leads. Your people that are pre-approved, your people that are signed buyers, signed listings, those are your priorities. Or people that have indicated they're gonna buy in the next few months, you're starting to talk about going to open houses, you're setting your buyer consultation, those are your priorities to make sure those people are taken care of. There's people that, oh, I might buy someday, but my credit, do you think a 400 credit score is gonna hurt me? Yeah, you're a cold lead, let me put you in touch with someone that can consult with you on the financial side. But don't overthink those leads that aren't actually buyers or sellers. Cause they can eat your time away and make you waste away to nothing.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
And hearing it, sometimes you're like, oh, yeah, I know, I've done that. Alright, so kind of what we talked about today, capturing appropriate information so that you can get in touch with people. You're gonna connect to assess what their needs are and establish a relationship. Which I know this sounds very by the book, but keep in mind is you're making it personal, you're gonna make it fun. Don't forget you have a personality when you're talking to people. That is what, like, a lot of agents, I think, forget to put that in there, and I tend to do it because I just find it amusing when I shock people a little bit. Not in a
Like,
gross way, just
well,
in
it brings
a,
their shields down a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
That's really wise, because it's like, you know, when we have the scripts, I feel like it's easy to want to just rely on it as like a magic potion, but it's really more of a. Like you said before, it's like, it's better to, it's something to have. In the back, like solid in the back of your mind to draw on, rather than.
It's a framework, it's not a step-by-step process. And I think that's the difference that we gotta keep in mind. Scripts are just a framework to help to outline that conversation, you need to fill out the details of it. Cultivating the relationship, so finding a reason to call, like I said, most time, like if you can't think of one, ask Tyson, ask James, like, well, probably don't ask James, he's always so busy, but. You know, just ask like, hey, I'm out of ideas of reasons to call my sphere. Can you give me like 3 things I could talk about this week with my sphere? They're gonna help you. Or put it in ChatGPT. Ask them. That's what ChatGPT is there for. I'm a newer real estate agent. I am going through and calling people that I know. I'm having an issue coming up with good topics of conversation. Can you give me 3 different topics and some details behind those to help me with that? Yeah, ChatGPT is great. And then close by asking for the appointment. How many no's do you think you get before you get a yes when it comes to appointment on average? The average is closer to 10.
Optimistic.
If you can do it in 5, let me know. That's your goal. You're gonna reduce that down to 5. 5 no's to 1 yes. You're gonna get a 20% conversion rate. Be kicking my butt if you did. I did have one week where I had a 50% conversion rate. I had 6 conversations and 3 appointments. I'm like, I'm done for the week.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not how it's supposed to work. I'm like, it just happened to be everybody was ready to meet with me this week. All right, this is an important part for me, if you guys wouldn't mind doing an evaluation. When you get to the instruction name, you have to scroll down till it says not on list and then type in my name, because I'm not officially an instructor yet. And that is your course name there.
Believe that they're not in order.
It is really weird.
What is our origin?
I know about it.
Yeah,
Ohio Valley.
good job,
How do you,
Chris.
how do you, thank you. How do you spell your
What's
last?
our market center number?
Our market center number, 7 Hills.
1074. Took me a while to remember that one. How do you spell what?
How do you spell your last name?
BALDWIS.
So this is Ignite what?
11.
11.
It's up on the screen, please.
Oh,
I love that I can joke around with you guys because you know it's right there. It says it. So kind of like one of some things you guys were talking about, tomorrow, Sarah Brooks, who is the head of the education committee here, her and her husband. She's gonna be talking about strengthening relationships. So that may be an interesting one. I've not sat through that one yet. So you guys got that, so KW cares, get involved. Next gen's kind of interesting. It talks about like scholarships and coaching and stuff like that. So we're gonna kind of go from the recaps, because I like this part rather than ahas with a small group. Yeah, you gotta like literally scroll. So how has your thinking changed a little bit today? Is there any change in your mindset today? Lou
Yeah,
says I'm so focused.
Definitely, just thinking,
We do have about 5 more minutes because we did start a little bit late, so just so you know, I'm not running late. I just want to make sure we get through the end part.
I gotta run, to a meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I think for me, I think it comes back to. Organization systems. And really just trying to like settle into following some systems that are simple and consistent and at scale. Instead of trying to like redesign things all the time, just like a trap I fall into a lot.
Yeah, I just trust in the fact that we do have awesome systems in place, try following it first and then see if there is things you need to change. Like I found doing morning lead gen is not always something I can do, most of my committees meet in the morning. So I don't typically do it every single morning, but there's weeks I'll be in there every morning doing it, because that week, that's what worked out best for me.
Right.
You guys don't have as much of
We
that
don't have
option,
choice.
but that's something that I did change.
Right.
But not the whole idea of it, just change the timing of it. And you'll see a lot of agents, the tier 3s and 4s will be there in the afternoon instead. It's quieter too,
Right.
so. Anything for you, Luis?
Well, I think it's, just having more. Feeling more confident about what to say, and then setting those. System in place, having that system in place, scheduling. Improving your database and those stats, all of that is really. Really valuable. And it's just implementing and I think it would help to have better results.
100%, yeah. I always said the first step's the hardest. And just making that first initial step, committing to doing it. You're in the office a lot, both of you guys are. Make sure you're sticking to whatever you've time blocked to do during those time frames.
That's a key.
Yeah, and even if it's giving yourself 15 minutes in between in case you do get caught up doing something. But don't allow what should be an hour long working on something turn into 3 or 4 hours, and then you've lost out on everything else you wanted to do that day. And I recommend working in some stuff like writing random contracts, getting used to just pull up a property, write an offer on it. I'm sure somebody will be willing to review it for you, maybe not immediately, but they'll review it for you eventually. And just say, this is what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to get used to doing it. It's 14 pages, it's a lot. I get that, it's a lot. So, if you wanna do it, just make sure that things like that, you get you more comfortable with the contract. Yeah, if you have a spouse, it'd be nice, if they'd let you like try to sell them a house, but I've never found that to work. You end up buying a house with your spouse, I don't wanna practice doing it, so. So basically what we're saying from today, I'm hoping you got a little bit better of a mindset. So that as we start going through this, get some more pointers for how to run your business and like kind of just a more efficient way. And for people who've been doing, I mean, Lisa's been done it for a while, now you've got a couple of clients that you're working with. But refocusing on how can I take it from, I got a little bit of experience, and you have a couple of years under your belt too. How do I bring that into something else? And that's what this is gonna help you do. It helps brand new agents especially, but it does help agents that have been here for a while kind of refocus their thoughts and their days. So that's what we're hoping to get from it. If you come next week to my 2 sessions, we are doing lead gen afterward, role play and then lead gen. Because that's part of my teaching requirements is I have to actually do this, what they call the success system afterwards. So Monday and Wednesday next week after the Ignite, I will also be doing lead gen with the group, so.
Cool. Thank you.
That's it, have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Are you going to begin at the office?
Yeah.
So I will ask you if you can show me there. How to get to.
I will do that.